and welcome to the Tao of Our Understanding Recovery Podcast. In this podcast, we discuss mystical works of literature and how they relate to recovery. We hope you enjoy today's podcast episode.
Hello, this is Buddy C. Welcome to the Tao of Our Understanding Recovery Podcast. Today we have Brian and Drew. Good to have you guys. If you're new to the podcast, what we do is talk about how Taoist, mostly Taoist thought, relates to recovery. Don't worry, you don't have to turn in your Jesus card or anything like that. What we found was that Taoist literature like the Tao Te Ching, the Wen, some of these, the book we're going through right now, which is the Chuang Tzu, all give descriptions of the higher power from just a slightly different view than what we may see from our Western thought and the way that we were raised and different examples we were given. Does not conflict that I have found at all. Only accents, only highlights. So today we will be talking about The Lost Pearl. It's a story from page 74 in Thomas Merton's interpretation of the Chuang Tzu, which Chuang Tzu was a student of Lao Tzu. That's what we believe. And we believe that Lao Tzu penned the Tao Te Ching. Before we start with our text, though, I do want to talk about a couple of things. First, I want to talk about a resource that we have. I try to mention one resource a week. And this resource I want to talk about is buddyc.org. I want to talk about the recovery resources that are there. They're all free, no hooks. If you click on recovery resources in the menu, there's 30 tools to stay sober. This came from the nightly Zoom meeting, the Fourth Dimensioners. These are not mine. There's things in here I don't agree with, but it's okay. I can allow other people to have opinions other than myself. So that's one of the gifts of sobriety, that everything does not have to be your way. So there's a lot of things in here. Some things I like, some I don't. Some you may resonate with and some you may not. So please no emails about number 20 whatever being wrong. I just don't have time for it right now. You can download that list, daily emails, list of podcasts, AA meeting guide, sober meditations, other online meetings, additional, all kinds of resources there that was compiled. Oh, this is compiled a couple of years ago. I may need to go through it and update it. If you guys know of any resources I should add to this, please send them to me. Email them to me at info@buddyc.org, and I would be happy to add them. Or if you see any that don't work now or should be removed, let me know that, please. You can read the big book online, read the 12 and 12 online, free access to the AA Grapevine, AA literature and brochures, shared Google calendars. Here's a thought for the day that I put together. It's a calendar that you import into your Google calendars, and then there's a Course in Miracles calendar that has the daily. Anyone familiar with Course in Miracles, they have a lesson for every day of the year. So this is a calendar that you can import into your Google calendars that has every lesson that you can have on your calendar. That's a great calendar too. I use that. I use both those calendars actually. So I wanted to make them available to you guys. So lots of good things there, all free for you to use. You know, that's how we stay sober, is by helping one another, because when I help you, I'm really helping me. Took a long time for me to realize that. I do want to talk about also a moment of synchronicity. We've started doing that every week. And this week, I want to talk, and most are really simple. Some are major, but and I think the reason why the really simple ones happen is because I'm not is invested in the simple ones. I'm not uh, I'm not trying to make the simple ones happen. I'm not pushing. I'm out of the way so they can just naturally unfold. And today's I want to talk about. I know I've mentioned before when my son was little. Gosh, this was back mid 2005, 6, 7 in there. We would take a trip out west in the Jeep. I had a Jeep that I drove all the time. We'd go out, we'd four wheel around the desert for a week somewhere, and just me and him. And he was second, third, fourth grade. And this was our first trip, and he was a second grader, I remember. And we were going to Tombstone, Arizona the next day. So we walk in the hotel. We just find a cheap hotel on the way and walked in, checked in. I told him, I said, we're going to go to Tombstone tomorrow. And I started describing the things and talking about the movie. Flipped on the TV, and there was the movie starting. So we sat and watched the movie. And then the next day, he got to see what he watched the night before. So it was just incredible. Nothing I prayed for, nothing, but those kind of moments just made what was already special even more special.
Hmm.
Don't ask me how that happens. I don't know. Or I don't understand those things. I just accept them and appreciate them and say thank you is all I do. And I don't know what else to do with those things, but that was a huge moment. Uh, so that's our synchronicity moment for today. Now we will go to our story, The Lost Pearl. Do you want to read, Brian?
Yeah, sure, I'll read. The Lost Pearl. The Yellow Emperor went wandering to the north of the Red Water. To the Kwan Mountain he looked around, over the edge of the world on the way home. He lost his night-colored pearl. He sent out science to seek his pearl and got nothing. He sent analysis to look for his pearl and got nothing. He sent out logic to seek his pearl and got nothing. Then he asked Nothingness, and Nothingness had it. The Yellow Emperor said, strange indeed, Nothingness, who was not sent, who did no work to find it, had the night-colored pearl.
Thank you, Brian. So the emperor went wandering all the way to the edge of the world. He lost his, I guess, black pearl. We'll just call it the pearl. Lost his pearl. So the pearl would mean something of great value. He had it at one time, but lost it. So it looks like he'd have a general location of where he lost it if it was so valuable to him. It's as if maybe he lost it and didn't know he had lost it. I don't know. Because he went wandering everywhere, even to the edge of the world. He had it at one time, so wondering that, going to those many places looking would seem odd, because he had it. If he never had it and was searching something he never had, it'd be different. Seems to me he may have not have been aware he lost it.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna stumble around here for a while, Brian. Then Drew's gonna tell us what it's about. So
Yeah, he's going to let us stew in it.
yeah, he's waiting on us to get to the end of what we can surmise. And it's interesting here. He's looking for something he thinks is physical, or he's looking for something physical, obviously. Says he sent science to look for it. This is metaphorically too. So science is looking, he sought to find the pearl through science, found nothing. Through analysis, where did he go? Where could it be? It could be so far from, just thinking. And then logic would also be thinking. Sent out logic. Where logically would the pearl be? Now, it sounds like that would be everything he could possibly do to find it. All of his resources he tried. And it says, then he asked Nothingness, and Nothingness had it. Strange indeed, Nothingness, who was not sent, who did not work to find it, had the night-curled pearl. That really reminds me of, in sobriety, I look toward all these externals for relief. I tried every counselor, types of counseling, tried all the different things that's talked about in the big book about, you know, changing what I drank, changing the rules around when I drank, all those type things. Uh, but nothing physically could relieve my alcoholism. That would be part of that science analysis and logic for me. And when I finally surrendered and stopped trying to use science and logic and analysis, I found my relief when I surrendered and let go and quit trying. For me, that would be the nothingness. We see a lot in recovery, it's discussed as surrender, as powerlessness. And what we read a lot is taught as emptiness, and nothingness would be part of that. In reality, I had the answer the entire time within and did not know it. Maybe that's part of what he's talking about here. The answer was always there, but I couldn't see it because I was stuck in science, logic, and analysis.
Mm-hmm.
But once I asked nothingness, what's the quote? It's the emptiness of the cup that makes it useful. It's in the nothing of my science, analysis, and logic. Note here it says nothingness did not work to find it, was not sent, but had it. Brian?
Buddy, I was thinking about what I've heard called what if worry.
Explain.
Well, just constantly locked in, worrying about this, worrying about that. And what I'm seeing here is I can get locked into what if worry, and it's all consuming, and there's no capacity for the things that are going around outside of me. You know, I'm just locked away in my head trying to figure and worry and fear. It all comes down to fear. Instead of just saying, you know what, I've been deliberate. I've uh, I feel like I've taken all the right actions, and I just have to let go of this.
Letting go. I'm looking up a few verses that about emptying and emptiness in the Tao Te Ching. By the way, there's a URL in the notes, episode notes, that'll give you a page that has a number of the translations, and I just go through when I want to find something, do Control F to find, and just type the word in and just see where all that word is. I use this a lot. It's really good. Or ask chat the question and spits them out in a second. So, uh, verse 5, the Tao is like a bellows. It is empty yet infinitely capable. The more you use it, the more it produces, and the more you talk of it, the less you understand. A bellows is uh, that would be used by a blacksmith. The Tao is called the Great Mother, empty yet inexhaustible. That's verse 6. It's easier to carry an empty cup than one that is filled to the brim. That's verse 9, McDonald. Verse 11, this is Mitchell. We shape clay into a pot, but it is the emptiness inside that holds whatever we want. That's the nothingness. That's why, for me, I am of no use at all if I can't allow myself to be emptied of all of my logic, all of my analysis, and all of my rationalization. That's what I used science for, was to rationalize. So I could try to understand something I was not able to understand.
You wasn't willing to take the cotton out of your ears and put in your mouth.
That's what my first sponsor told me. He says, I want you to take the cotton out of your ears and put it in your mouth. You have two ears and one mouth for a reason. I'll tell you when you can talk in meetings. I'm like, what? Who the fuck is he talking to? You think he's talking to?
Pulling the plug out of that ego.
Oh, man.
Let her drain.
Yeah, I was, who do you think he is? But anyway, he had what I wanted, so I did what he said, And it was important for me to get knocked down to size. And I did what he suggested, and it worked eventually.
You got what was freely given to him.
Oh, how about 16? Empty your mind of all thoughts. Let your heart be at peace. Watch the turmoil of beings, but contemplate their return. If you want to become, this is 22, if you want to become full, let yourself be empty. There, 25, there was something formless and perfect before the universe was born. It is serene, empty, solitary, unchanging, infinite, eternally present. It's the mother of the universe. For lack of a better name, I will call it the Tao. We talk about the only constant is change, but if you notice, the only thing that doesn't change is how compassion works in our lives. That doesn't change. That works every time. And the name of the book that the Tao Te Ching is Day is Virtue. So this is the path, the book of the path of virtue. So everything about the Tao is about learning how to walk a path of virtue in all of your life, which is exactly what we learn in recovery. It's a path of virtue. What are we taught? Our recovery is in helping someone else. Our recovery is in living a life of forgiveness. Those are the things that we see in recovery, and this is saying the very same thing. It's really another way to describe it would be learning how to, or allowing rather than learning, allowing yourself to walk a path empty of you, empty of your feeble little idea. I was talking about me, empty of my feeble little ideas, my little vengefulness, all those ways that I would protect my fear, and moving over to this foundation of love, foundation of compassion, rather than the fear foundation. Exactly what you were talking about, Brian. Um, that's the only way I can be present because what did you call that? Where
What if worry?
what if worry? Yeah, that's taking us out of the moment. There's nothing about virtue in that. No virtue for you or for anyone else. No, there's no compassionate living there. And what it's doing is pacifying your fear and it's taking you out of the moment. And you're really not living when you're doing that.
Other than in your head.
And that's not living.
Mm.
Like our friend Oscar says, we're always present. We just don't know it.
Yeah.
And that I think that's really true. So it's about living in this emptiness that we're talking about, the nothingness.
Right where our feet are.
Yes, sir. And without my agenda or my need to figure out or my need to protect, can I just be? Here's 45. True perfection seems imperfect, yet it is perfectly itself. True fullness seems empty, yet it is fully present. When we talk about the first three steps, the first step, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Isn't that what it says? Yeah, that's correct. That's the outward me seeing that all of this life, or the way I see it, all of my life is unmanageable outwardly because I didn't realize that my life was unmanageable. I thought it was my drinking that was unmanageable. But it says our life was unmanageable. That could be some of the science, could be some of science, analysis, and logic, all three. Me trying to fix things in my life out here thinking that's gonna cause me not to need to drink as much or have more control over my drinking. Then the second step came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity, find the pearl I lost. That's looking within. So the first step is, hey, notice what's going on out here. Now let's look inside and notice the same unmanageability. More science, more analysis, more logic, you know, the science, you go out and get the data, and the analysis, you look at it, and then logic, you try to figure out what you found, that process. Number two is telling me that, hey, the answer's within, and the answer's about how can you seek nothingness? How can you find the emptiness where all answers exist? For me, that would be the power greater than myself.
That moment you realize everything's okay and you got everything you need.
And in reality, Brian, you realize, hey, why am I struggling? It's all taken care of.
Yeah.
It was many years into sobriety before I could say that. There's nothing for me to ask. If I were to I stopped asking for things a long time ago, but only, I don't know when it came about. It's like, sounds like the emperor lost a pearl and didn't know he lost it. It's as if we find these things, but sometimes just realize we know the opposite, right?
Mm.
That
Yeah.
oh, I know. It's like in the promises, suddenly realize God's doing for us what we couldn't do for ourselves. I was at a roundup last night, which you guys don't know what that is. It's like an AA conference kind of thing. And there's a local one where I got sober. If you want to look it up online, it's alatoona.roundup.org. They've been doing this annual for 40. This is the 46th year. So I drove back home. Went last night. It's only an hour, a little over an hour from where I live now, and saw a bunch of old friends going back to tonight's meeting. It's in Cartersville, Georgia, every year. 250 or so folks were there last night. Big turnout all over the Southeast. I have friends come in. The speaker last night, he was talking about, he says, when I mention God, it's just shorthand. Whatever you think God is, just fill it in there. Don't assume I'm saying something I'm not. So I'm just going to call what is God. And I said, hey, that's a good way to look at it. It's just whatever you think of as good. So when I say God, that's what I'm saying. So we start looking within, seeking this power greater than ourselves or this nothingness. How do I get back to emptiness? What would emptiness be? What attitude would I have if I were living an empty life? Doesn't mean it's empty of things. See, we start automatically think, oh, the monk with what is it, 6 or 7 items, whatever, how many items they own, and that's it, kind of thing. No, that's not the emptiness we're talking about. We're talking about inner emptiness.
Gratitude
Yeah, sure would be.
to know that I've got everything that I need.
And Brian, that everything I need is not like, oh, I'm just barely scraping by.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's everything I need in that I have all that I need without lacking anything. That's a
Yeah.
different kind of having everything I need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How about the Bible talks about the kingdom of God's like these children. The attitude of the child is part of that too, I think. Are we dependent as a child is dependent? I- For me, that's the emptiness.
Mm-hmm.
That's the emptiness. Oh, Drew's fixing to inform us. Drew's having internet trouble this morning. Can't hear you, Drew. Are we not going to hear Drew's wisdom? Is it up to us, Brian?
Maybe he's that empty. There's nothing there.
Yeah, emptiness for me, the way it's come up recently is uh, I just acceptance of the present moment and not wishing anything was different. Just not judging people for what they're doing or not doing, or wishing this were different or that were different. That's that's just so much time spent in my own head. Um, being unhappy and out of the present moment, and as
Sorry, Drew, your connection is poor. Brian, it looks like we're on our own. Can we get out of science and logic and analysis here and just allow some emptiness, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
The pearl was found where it was not sought. It appeared, it was not something, not where, emptiness was not, nothingness was not looking for it. It was always there. So back to the steps, the nothingness for me is surrendering all of my need to figure out recovery or life, all of my need to understand how it's working and the need to prop myself up and make myself look good or make myself look bad. The pity, self-pity, or pride and ego. My ego can come out either way through pride or self-pity. It's all the same. It's still me. That's the problem. That's why I can't judge what's good and bad. Because what I perceive as good may be something really bad. And what I perceive as bad a lot of times turns out to be the best thing for me.
I've heard a phrase in recovery that says we'll be grateful for what has been given, what has been taken away, and what has been left behind.
Thank you, Brian. That's good.
One thing that's coming up for me is, and it's my ego. I think I've shared before. My nickname is Eeyore, and I used to have a real difficult time with that, and it was my ego. It was all about me. Woe is Brian, and one of my famous phrases with my wife, with Brandy, would say, "Well, how was your day?" "Oh, it was okay," and that was that word of okay was kind of like in my mind it was like middle ground. It was like, well, I'm not going to rub it in that it was terrible, but I'll just throw an okay on it, and I could still hold on to a little piece, and I've had to change that and say, it was a good day, and it's okay for it to be a good day. And I try not to, I know we talk about assigning good and bad to stuff, but that was kind of my way of saying, you know what, it was, shorter way of saying, there was things that were not happy about. There was things I'm happy about, but it was all okay. It was all good.
That's a different kind of good.
A different kind of good. An acceptance that it was just a day. It was a day.
Really,
whether I wanted it or not.
If we really wanted to ask, rather than hope you had a good day, I would ask sometimes when I'm meeting with a sponsee, what I would normally say is, how's your day been? You having a good day so far? When what I should be asking is, have you had problems accepting anything today?
Yeah.
Because in reality, the issue is not the circumstance. Again, it's not these things. It's not what's going on out here. It's, am I surrendering to what within? If I'm surrendering within, these things out here are not going to dictate our peace and joy. Drew, still can't hear you, my friend. It's just not going to dictate my peace and joy. If I allow that way, I can be at peace in bad situations. It's not about changing the situation that gives me peace. It's about my acceptance of the moment as it is, not my approval of the moment, not my allowing myself to get run over in some way. It's just, okay, things are like this right now in this moment. Now, is there anything I can do to change successive moments?
Isn't there a sentence in the big book that says something about acceptance is, I know there's acceptance is the answer to all my problems, but I think there's one that says something about my peace and joy is directly related.
Yeah, let me find that right quick, Brian. I must keep my magic magnifying mind, what was it? Science, analysis, logic, on my acceptance and off my expectations. For my serenity is directly proportional to my level of acceptance. When I remember this, I can see I've never had it so good. Thank God for AA. That's at the bottom of page 420 in the 4th edition. I got my daughter a birthday card. It says, "Have an adequate day." And the message is, this message brought to you by the National Foundation for Lowered Expectations. That was like $1 card at a 99-cent card at Walmart.
Yeah, those were those Hallmark cards that didn't make it.
Oh, I was looking through the Hallmarks, and my friend that was with me said, "Hey, look at this one." She just saw it because she thought it was funny. She's in the program. And I said, "I'll get that for her." She said, "What?" I said, "Yeah, she'll love that."
Yeah, I can save $4.
Well, I wasn't thinking that. I
know.
I was thinking that's a great card. Have an adequate day. Oh, that's perfect.
That is perfect.
That's exactly what she would think I would get for her too. That's
Yeah.
I get a big eye roll out of that one.
Yeah.
Have an adequate day. But when we're talking about acceptance, we're not talking about having an adequate day, though. We're talking about much more than that. Because, see, that still implies that it could be better. Just adequate. It's okay.
Yeah. But if you look beyond the card, you can realize that it's perfect.
Exactly, Brian.
Yeah.
It takes that inner surrender, that return to nothingness. In a child's attitude, it would be giving up the need to provide for myself. Even though I do what I can do, I know ultimately that I'm not the source. Still do what I need to, do what's in front of me to do, but I never think it's me that is the true source. So many circumstances have to line up. If we're just talking about physical success, I know a lot of people that have worked, a lot of broke people I know have worked so much harder and so much smarter than some of the dumbasses that I know that have a lot of money. I mean, really, it's not always that way, but it doesn't make sense from what I see sometimes. Like, how in the world did that person get here? And then I realize it's it's a lot more than just science, analysis, and logic. You know, when my kids were little, if one of them would have came up and said, "Daddy," knock on the door, said, "Daddy, can I come in, please? Are you still my daddy?" I said, "Yeah, I'm your daddy. That can't change." He said, "Okay, well, can I come in tonight and live here?" I said, "Sure, you can. What are you talking about?" "Well, can I have some dinner tonight?" That would be there'd be a problem if he was doing that. I mean, we would seek out some kind of professional help if that was an ongoing thing. We do it all the time on a spiritual level. Or speaking for me, that used to be a constant for me. Just wondering whether I was going to be taken care of. Is it going to work this time? When's the other shoe going to drop? How is that different? I, I'm still thinking that it's up to me to either make it happen or, I haven't, me being provided for is dependent upon my spiritual production for the day. You know, like we're earning when it's relationship, it's not a job. That's totally different. I didn't take care of my kids because they behaved that day. I took care of. They could have been awful, and they still would have had a place. The days they did not behave like I would have liked. They still had a place to live. They still had food to eat. They were still my child. So it wasn't a performance thing, and I don't think it's a performance thing for us. I think we do get in our way sometimes, so we cause issues in our life because we're in the way and can't see what's provided for us.
That's where fear comes in.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. Well, that's why the steps are all about removing the fear.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they do is remove the fear so that you can be empty. That's really it. And then live step 12, having
Having had a spiritual awakening.
yeah. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs? How can I live in nothingness? How can I live in emptiness? So, step 3, both of those are bringing us to step 3, first and 1 and 2. First one we're looking at, we say, okay, none of this is what I'm seeing is not the answer. 2, okay, I'm looking within and I can be restored to that place of emptiness. Restored because I started out empty. Then these fears and all came along that filled me up. And as long as I'm full, I can't be used. So how can I empty myself of little buddy? Then 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood God. So 3 is living this. 3 is becoming empty. And you make the decision in 3 to become empty. Then the rest of the steps allow that to happen. And of course, the last 3, 11, 12, and 13, 10, 11, 12, are about living this.
Yeah, 3,
all the steps and bring them into one little, an ongoing.
yeah, 3, you're just making a decision,
That's right.
saying I got to do something different.
I have to surrender. I can't do this. Surrender is the same. Emptiness, surrender, nothingness.
Mhm.
About ridding me of self, of all my dishonesty, my resentment, my fear, my selfishness, all those things.
Yeah, the old Brian, when I was stirred up, full of resentment, just a mess. If somebody would have looked at me and said, "What are you afraid of?" that would have just flew all over me. And now I'm able to go, there it is,
Yeah.
down there.
My response is always ultimately fear. Ultimately. And it takes some time and work to get down to that's what a 4th step helped me with. We were in a meeting the other day and we were talking about making our 8-step amends list. And of course you use your 4th step to start with that list. But if you're having difficulty writing a list of the folks that you harmed, you can start with making a list of the people you think harmed you.
Yeah.
Take a look at those and see if you have a part in those. You might find out that the majority of the people that you think harmed you, you have a part in that might need an amend. I don't know. Not all of them, but some, a good number of those, you have a part in too. That's a good place to start. I thought that was good. I mean, really, when what is a child's job? What really is the job of a child? That's really our job. Let's see. It would be do what you're told, um, share what you're given. What else? That's pretty much it, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, enjoy yourself. I mean, if my child's not happy, there's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't come in and even if I've got financial issues, I don't come in and tell my 6-year-old, well, I need you to go out and make some money somewhere. Our power's going to get cut off, and I need you to go out. And we don't put that, even if that's the case, we don't put that responsibility on a 6-year-old child. But yet we think it's our responsibility to do those same things when I don't see it that way. That's not living from a place of emptiness. Granted, I have a job to do just like a child has a job to do, but my job is different. What I do may result in finances coming in and should in most cases, but I don't have to take on the responsibility of thinking it's all on my shoulders because that's how I used to live. It's all up to me to make happen. See, make happen. It's all up
Mm-hmm.
to me to force and push. And the times it's worked for me is when I've stepped back. I said, okay, I'm powerless over whatever's going, and it just comes together. It's unbelievable how that happens.
Finally let go of it.
Really, our holding on, Brian, seems to prevent things from coming together rather than help and assist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, get out of the way.
That is so difficult of a concept, or because science can't explain that. Analysis cannot explain that. Logic cannot explain that. It's past science, analysis, and logic. How does it help me by helping another alcoholic? How in the world? It would not make sense that my alcoholism would be abated by me helping someone else. It would seem like once I'd been sober several years and was stable living and all of that, then I would start helping people. But that's not what we're shown. That's the one secret that Bill W. found, really, that the whole program is based on, that my help is in helping you. When he, before AA, he went, I think it was about 6 months, he went and tried to help other alcoholics. And from what I read, part of that was going into bars and talking to people who were, I mean, he was just an evangelist for sobriety, was what he was doing. And at the end of 6 months, no one had gotten sober. No one. And he was telling his wife about this. He said, I've been at this for 6 months and nobody's gotten sober. And she said, well, Bill, you're still sober. And the light bulb went off. This is before he met Bill W., met Dr. Bob. And then once he met Dr. Bob, they had, I won't go into those details, but when they had their first meeting together, from what I'm read, Dr. Bob told him, he says, son, you can't help me. Bill was several years, I think 12, 15 years younger, a good bit younger than Dr. Bob. He said, son, you can't help me. I've tried everything. And from what I understand, Bill's response was, I'm not here to help you. I'm here to help me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're not that blatant about it, but that's really what I need is always in me helping you. I remember one year I was having financial issues. So I contacted my property manager. I didn't have a lot of houses. I think there was 4. And I told him, I said, I want to give everyone December rent free and thank them for being a good tenant, even if they weren't a good tenant. And because my money was super tight, so I was giving some money away. I didn't tell my wife either because she would have flipped. So she didn't understand these things, right? So I kind of held that one back. I didn't have a dramatic, you know, a check for so much came out of heaven kind of thing, but things got better. Would they have gotten better regardless? Maybe. But my attitude and my peace was there that may not have been there. It was not there before because I was stressing over it. And once I gave, I let it go.
Buddy, that's like those times a sponsee will call and say, hey, can we meet before the meeting?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there thinking, man, my work is slow. Do you realize I may have made my last dollar? Is what I'm thinking, but I always say yes, and it always works out.
It's just us learning how to step out of the way, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
Because whatever we're doing in this moment, how much difference is it going to make a year from now? Really? Most of the circumstances we get all twisted about, I don't even remember. So why would I get twisted over something that I'm not even going to remember has happened?
Got to start making a list of that stuff.
Yeah. Even a week from now.
Yeah.
Most things a week from now, I'm not even, if my future self could talk to me, said, man, no need to stress over this thing that you're stressing over. Almost always it's that way. Because it's the little foxes that spoil the vine. It's the little things that really steal my peace. The little ways I try to continue to control, that I don't approach from a place of emptiness, that I've got an agenda, I've got it figured out. Just get out of my way. This is how it should work. I know.
Quick story. I'm dealing with some of that right now. I got an item that FedEx damaged, and it should have never been sent, but that way. But anyway, long story short, so I called the people and I said, hey, this thing is damaged. And the lady says, well, we'll just issue you a refund, and but I'm going to have to get back to you in 1 to 2 business days. And my first thought was, no, I want it right now. And I didn't. And Well, here we are today, and it's been 3 days, and I haven't received an email. And so, I look this morning and I see their customer service is open today and tomorrow, and I'm like, okay, today's the day I'm going to lower the boom on them. And my first thought was like, no, you're not, Brian. No, you're not. You're going to call. It's not time for that yet. You need to call and follow up and say, hey, this is what I was told, and I want to confirm that the wheels are turning on this. And, and I just started going through my head, and I was like, the lady that I dealt with, she may be off. There's no telling, and for me to call, most likely get somebody else and just let them have it. Why do I want to do that?
Well, that would only affect you. It wouldn't affect them.
Yeah.
But actually, in reality, it's affecting you right now.
It is.
That's the whole point, Brian, is for us to be able to approach these things from a place of emptiness where we're the observer.
Mm-hmm.
That is a very good example of how approaching things from a place of emptiness can be to our benefit. You can handle the same situation either at a place of peace or at a place of anger and resentment. Peace and joy, anger, resentment, which one you want. Each is not going to make their day, make FedEx better or worse. That person you're talking to probably hears assholes all the time,
Yeah, they don't get called unless somebody's pissed.
Yeah. So you being nice could really even be a way of giving to FedEx.
Yeah.
See, because that's the whole point. Can I find a way that I can be kind to FedEx? Doesn't mean you don't get your money back. It just means you handle it a different way.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be a pushover for this to work. I have done that before when I've had to deal with those type issues. Okay, I need to handle this in a kind way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm overly kind to the person. I don't do this every time when I'm conscious of it. Overly kind to the person that I'm talking to, the customer service person. And my day goes better, their day goes better, or at least they respond better. And I think they would, if it were me, I'd much rather have that than someone being a butt about things.
Yeah, because they want to help.
Yeah. I had one say, thank you so much. I talked to so many aggravated people, that kind of a thing. I try to get them on my side. How can we figure this out? What do I need to do? How can I help? When I take that attitude, I can handle situations that used to take my peace and joy because they didn't really take it. I allowed it to be taken.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So that's good. It's been a good conversation. Brian, we've been forced to, maybe next week Drew will have things figured out and he can show us what we missed on this. If there's nothing else, guys, have a great week and we'll see you next week. Thank you. Hello, this is Buddy C. I wanted to make you aware of several recovery-related resources that I've posted in the episode description. These resources include a list of recovery podcasts, a free sober meditation app, daily recovery email, shared Google recovery calendars. Hope you put some of these resources to use and have a great week.
Thank you for listening to the Tao of Our Understanding Recovery Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends in recovery.